One of the highlights for me of a very full and blessed week of ministry was being invited to dinner at a family relatively new here to the parish to have dinner. And they invited some of their friends, and I was going to bless the home. And as I've shared with you before, and I so often feel this when I'm received into homes, just great love, you know. As I arrived, you could already smell a delicious meal that we got to partake in. I had a glass of wine in my hand before I knew it. Their little girls, adorable, playing around. And as the father prepared the meal, there was just this genuine joy to share and to invite you into that. The mother arrived after me and all the rest of the guests. She had a long shift as a nurse, came in uniform. You can imagine, or I could easily, that's a long day. And there are people in my house. Now, she knew we were coming. And she comes in, and children just need her. Just need her, right? Affection, a hug, whatever. And again, I was just so impressed by the joyful generosity that she showed in that moment. I don't know about you, but for me, I often feel most encouraged, challenged in an aspirational way when I glimpse the hidden, beautiful offering, generous, hospitality, joyful, that people are making in their vocations. So, you'll be happy to know I have since taken the initiative to unload the dishwasher in our rectory. I have been attentive to how I might respond to the little interruptions in my day, and just those really little things. This morning I want to speak to you about these two women of faith that today's scriptures seem to be all about, and then the light that they cast on the state of our parish. I'm doing this at all of the masses this weekend. First, there's that woman of Zephyratha. What a profound offering of hospitality she makes to the prophet Elijah. You can see that it cost her something. It was not convenient, it was inconvenient. She had and needed to have faith and to be stretched. And she does it. It's really beautiful. All year I've felt the Lord calling us, certainly as a ministry team, anyone who works here, but all of us, to really reflect into, to pray into the hospitality of Jesus. The Good Samaritan who receives us in our poverty and our nothingness. And how we as a community can be even more stretched in that. What is genuine hospitality? Why is that gesture so important? Well, we know it's not a formula. It's not enough just to say the right words and to say them again and again. We know that it's not a program. It's a way of being. It's a disposition of heart. When I think of the importance of hospitality, I think of it as the open door that allows a pathway into healing and hope in Christ, into a genuine sense of belonging to the body of Christ, the church. Like, hospitality is expansive. Like, come on in, be a part, participate. You're needed, you're seen, you're wanted. And it really begins with all of us. The people you and I are blessed to encounter. And how do we extend ourselves in those encounters? That's the woman from the Old Testament. The woman from the Gospel. Notice, first of all, the loving observation of Jesus, who sees the heart. Do you know he sees below the noise and the bluster? He sees below virtue signaling. He just watches the people give. And you know what those basins they were giving into in the temple? They were made out of copper. So you can imagine how the sound, the very sound of those who put in a large sum would have made. And what's not lost to his attention is this woman who gives generously. Again, it costs her something. She gives of herself in the gift. She gives, he says, of her poverty. It's a really beautiful thing, you know. I've been thinking of how closely related hospitality is with generosity. You know, last night I hosted my first pastor and 2 local priests, along with our associates, for dinner. Now, I had help, fortunately, because I don't cook very well. But nonetheless, it involved me. And you know how it involved me? It took me out of myself. I was given to the people that I was hosting and receiving. My being was given. You know, I think if we look at that as a starting point, there are so many signs of health here at St. Ambrose. Hospitality and generosity. And I just want to start from the open door. The door's not locked. An open door and all that entails for people to walk through that open door. The people who attend these beautiful buildings, who clean them, the teachers who are here before the students to welcome them, receive them, accompany them at every age, all the catechists and Good Shepherd, I think of all the way through, every season of life, you know? Do you know that open door welcomes nearly 2,400 people at all the weekend masses we have to count every October? Isn't that amazing? Every year, in the last 3 or 4 since the pandemic, that's grown significantly each year. We're beyond, way beyond where we were before the pandemic in terms of the number of people walking through that open door to want to be a part of something beautiful, something where they experience hope and healing in their own lives. I think of the open door to the chapel, so that at any hour, in any distress, simply I need to come and thank the Lord because something beautiful has happened in my life. That door is open. And people can come into the real and living presence of Jesus and be with him. Well, of course, that doesn't happen without a lot of people being generous, you know? The graveyard shifts of adoration, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. And that generosity is just not lost on me. Like, how important that is. I think of Fall Fest. Is there one event that gives us the opportunity as a community in a very tangible way to extend our hospitality? Like now, it's not just an open door. We're going outside the door. We want to put up rides. We want to attract people. Like, just come. There is something beautiful happening here. And you can be a part of it too. And it's not just that Fall Fest happens. In my handful of years, you know, it's the no drama joy of those who are most involved in volunteering. Not exclusive, like, no, we have a role for everyone. We actually need everyone to be a part of this. I think of going outside the open door, the super generous outreach. Certainly to the poor. I get to spend Thanksgiving morning with our To Be Truly Seen at Dorothy Day, serving a meal. I can't wait. I've been with them before. I think of all the many outreach things Deacon John and the wonderful committee pray through, let God discern. The many people who bring communion to those who can't be here. It's like, you know, hospitality can come to you. Just because you're limited physically or otherwise from being here, you're still with us. You're seen. We can find you, you know? I think of the many initiatives when I think of generosity and hospitality. I don't think ever a time in St. Ambrose has there been so many ways to step into the current and momentum. If you want to get involved, you want to grow, you want to find your people, you want to give, there are many, many pathways. In fact, this Tuesday, I told the pastoral council, I said, instead of an ordinary meeting, how about you join the tour of the rectory? That, after all, is the fruit of generosity. And then come to extending the table. One of our beautiful ministries where couples cannot live their vocations alone. They can be strengthened by the faith of other people. I think of our new welcoming, how we welcome new members twice a year. We show them, hold forth like, so glad you're here. Here's how you can take steps, you know? I could go on and on. Of course, the danger is forgetting things, but I'm not trying to be all-encompassing. I think you get the idea. You know, in the language of St. Ignatius of Loyola, he says, God calls us to go from good to better. And I just want to encourage us. Like, there is such a force for good here. It's happening. But what if we all step just a little bit more generously into this hospitality? Small things, eye contact, generosity, open doors of our home, open doors of our hearts, the quality that we listen to people. Now, of course, none of this happens without your financial generosity. And I want to say that impactful giving that impressed the Lord is such a blessing. Again, in the last 3 or 4 years since the pandemic, every year we have a total of more people who are giving, and those who have given have found the generosity to give more. We've exceeded where we've ever been in that respect, and we want to keep growing. You've heard me say before, like, one healthy indicator of an alive parish is the percentage of people who claim it as their spiritual home who give something. Something. The Lord's the one who sees, you know? Do you know of the 3,600 families that claim right now, at least 42% give something? It's not about shame. We don't give in that way. We give out of an overflow. God's been generous to us, and we want to pass it along. We want to be faithful to the mission. Just want to close with 2 things. You know, I saw a little Wall Street Journal article the other day, and it was pointing out how many billions of dollars were spent on this past election. Both sides, you know. Now, we could ask ourselves, I won't, but did it really affect anything? I don't know, right? But you know, the mission that you and I have in Jesus as a church is actually more important than any government. I know that that matters to us. It's not an either or. But you and I are in the salvation business. We won't call it a business, but like, I want to be fully alive. And I think to myself, what motivated those people to give so much? You know, I don't know, trying to control the way other people think, fear, goodwill, probably in a mixture of things. But I want to encourage you to give generously, and to give generously to God here at St. Ambrose. One last little addendum. You're going to be getting The Way, our quarterly, in the mail in the next few weeks. And you will see very clearly this connection between hospitality and your generosity, our hospitality. So we're putting the financials in this one so you can see all this. It's good for you to be able to see it. Try to be as transparent as we can. Last year I stood up and held out a dream and invited you to be a part of it, of a rectory at the end of 2024. That's pretty close. We're going to be getting to live there at the end of March, if all goes well, and we feel so blessed. And you'll have an opportunity to walk through it. It's not our house as priests, it's the house of St. Ambrose that we are blessed to live in. But the other part of that dream was to be out of our initial building mortgage, somewhere we've never been as a community, by the end of 2025. Again, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. to be able to get there, but we're within striking distance. So we're going to be praying about this, how the Lord wants to lead us. When we just let him lead, his generosity, the way he receives us hospitably, and we let that flow, then no matter what the task is, it doesn't have to be a death march. It can actually be filled with joy, the joy that I experienced in the home this past week.